How well do you know your neighbors? If you grew up in suburban America like me, the likely answer is not well at all. Suburban sprawl has a depressing effect on social interaction. Everyone has so much space, they end up filed away in their own neat little boxes. A neighborhood becomes a sea of solitary ships, silently passing each other without much thought. And sadly, it seems that this condition has scaled up to a national level. Consider Mexico, our national next-door neighbor. Most Americans, though well-intentioned, know painfully little about this vast, diverse, and culturally deep country with which we share a much maligned border. Sure, we see plenty of news stories, most of them bad, and hear travel tales from friends and acquaintances, some of them hopefully good. Maybe you've even ventured to the big walled-off resorts of Puerto Vallarta or Cancun for a long weekend of booze, beaches, and burritos. At a bare minimum, you probably have a favorite taco spot somewhere in your town. But as an understanding of such a storied nation as Mexico, these things are all but meaningless without broader context. They are the cultural equivalent of dropping in on your neighbor's backyard barbecue to make nice and grab a free hot dog. But to get to know someone, really know them, appreciate and understand them for all that they are, you have to go deeper than that. Travel farther. This was our goal, to get to know our great neighbor to the south. And so, with open minds and the best of intentions, we found our way to Taxco. Perched high in the rolling mountains of Guerrero State, the city of Taxco is an easy 3-hour bus ride southwest from Mexico City. It's one of these cities that feels all at once expansive and intimate. A travel magazine might say something like big city amenities with a small town feel, and while painfully cliche, that statement would be entirely accurate. Taxco has a truly unique feel to it, especially among cities in North America. It's a charming cascade of weathered white walls, terracotta tiles, and slate gray cobblestone, rolling over forested valleys and hills like a string of patinated waterfalls. Buildings clamber on top of each other in a way that shouldn't work but does. The foundation of one becomes the walls of another, whose floor becomes the roof of yet one more. The streets are steep, almost impossibly steep, and roughly hewn. Taxco has countless visual cues that set it apart from anywhere else in the world. Take, for example, the simple and stark black lines of the hand-painted signage adorning the facade of every business, a style that's required by law in much of the town. Or the seemingly endless barrage of vintage white VW Beetles that serve as Taxco's taxi fleet. Or the roads, smooth charcoal-colored stones mortared loosely but lovingly into patterned calles that careen off in all directions. Without sidewalks, these roads are hectic, noisy, but full of life. Be sure to always look twice and watch where you walk. But in Taxco, all roads ultimately lead to one place, the Zocalo. Zocalo is a uniquely Mexican Spanish word that means town square. Almost every city in Mexico has one, and while these courtyards usually have a formal name, Taxco's is technically called Plaza Borda. Locally, they are simply referred to as the Zocalo. This is the town's thriving, living heart. It's where locals and travelers alike meet, eat, drink, and find their way. It's divided roughly in half, the north side being a beautiful tree-ringed plaza with a central gazebo, and the south being a wide-open court that plays host to all manner of activity. Taxis and buses wander through tour groups and touts, all part of the strangely calm hustle and bustle that is daily Taxqueño life. The Zocalo also doubles as the front yard to one of the most important buildings in the region, the Parroquia de Santa Prisca y San Sebastian, more commonly called the Church of Santa Prisca. Towering over the square, this stunning example of colonial architecture was constructed over a 7-year period from 1751 to 1758, with funding from one José de la Borda, a Spaniard who spent much of the 18th century dominating the local mining industry. Borda helped to build much of Taxco, and the new Spanish colonial architecture that defines the city is thanks in large part to his aesthetic contributions. Sadly, the interior of the Church of Santa Prisca is reserved only for parishioners, so we weren't able to peek inside, but its exterior splendor is more than worth appreciating, and is a prime factor in the Zocalo's distinct old-world charm. Working outwards from the plaza, Taxco is a wanderer's dream. Every corner presents the opportunity to get lost in the best way. The city's aggressive geography encourages you to wander in 3 dimensions. You walk up Taxco as much as across it. And as you do, each turn down a new path reminds you of the visceral landscape here. The borders of the narrow alleyways frame distant hills and buildings in a way that continuously feeds you a breathtaking sense of visual scale. It's a dense place, and the layout feels very European. Just swap out tacos for tapas and Merlot for mezcal, and you've got Taxco. The surrounding area is known the world over for its silver mines and jewelry making, which of course means that excellent shopping is on offer all over town. But even if you're not out for scoring high-dollar bling, there are plenty of locally made handicrafts, art, pottery, just about anything else you could want. All you have to do is turn a corner and you're bound to find something worth taking home. However, all of these wonders do come at a bit of a price, and I'm not talking about pesos. This is a very, very physically demanding destination. The sheer grade of many of the streets, combined with the uneven pavement and soaring altitude of nearly 6,000 feet, means you're hiking more than strolling. I cannot stress this enough. If and when you come here, bring quality closed-toed shoes, plenty of water, and a lot of energy. You'll need it. Take breaks often, stay hydrated, and don't push yourself too hard. Exploring Taxco on foot is a full-on cardio routine in its own right, but if you can push through the exhaustion, it's a city that just keeps on giving. And that spirit only becomes more evident as the day turns to night. Nightfall in the Zocalo is nothing short of magic. When the sun goes down, Taxco truly becomes a Pueblo Magico, the tourism board's apt moniker for the many charming hill towns of central Mexico. While many cities would settle into a quiet evening of dining and idle chatter, Taxco absolutely explodes with energy and life. Young and old alike pack the streets to eat, chat, shop, and have fun. It's after dark that the Zocalo fully comes into its own as the beating heart of this community. The city has a funny way of being both touristy and deeply, immersively authentic. I think this is mainly due to the fact that most of the tourism here isn't driven by international visitors. In fact, we were hard-pressed to find anything written in English. Most tourists in this region are Mexicans on a weekend getaway to escape their hectic lives in Mexico City or Acapulco. It's a place built by and for the Mexican people first and foremost, and that gives it a fantastic balance of touristic approachability and deep cultural honesty. It's a rare find, especially in the ever more homogeneous landscape of 21st century travel. Taxco also leans toward a Spanish temperament when it comes to time. Things open late and stay open late. Breakfast is a leisurely 9:30 or 10, with dinner falling well after 8 in the evening. My advice to a temporary Tasqueño: sleep in a bit, take your time, and don't be afraid to head out after dark. And, oh yeah, eat. Eat everything in sight. This is Mexico, after all. And if you enjoy the culinary traditions of this wonderful country, Taxco is as perfect a place as anywhere else to revel in its pleasures. As if this town didn't have enough going for it already, the cuisine here is excellent. Street food is, of course, plentiful. Elote, grilled corn slathered in delicious sauce and spices, is ubiquitous, as is pan dulce, a small and tasty loaf of bread coated in cinnamon sugar. But duck into nearly any restaurant, large or small, and chances are very good you're going to get your mind blown by a deep, soulful palette of flavors as rich and cultured as the land itself. There are international options if you want them, including sushi, but you're in Mexico for a reason, and every nuance of Mexican cuisine is fully represented in Taxco's many eateries. We didn't have a single bad meal here, but if you're looking for a full day's worth of good eating, here's your marching orders. Start by heading to Central Cafe, just north of the Zocalo, at around 9:30. Order the Tasqueños, a trio of delicious sopas, sort of like breakfast tacos, featuring local meats and cheeses. If you're feeling fancy, grab a frappuccino while you're at it. Who doesn't like sprinkles on your drink first thing in the morning? For lunch, head down to the main road and find this gem, Armando's Taqueria. It was in this humble room, sat on squat wooden stools jammed around a small plastic table, that we were served the best tacos of our lives. The fine folks at Armando's have perfected the art of al pastor. This legendary dish was made possible by the Moorish and Middle Eastern influences that made their way to Mexico along with the Spanish in the 16th and 17th centuries. Small cuts of pork are marinated and stacked with pineapple on a massive vertical spit, slow roasted to perfection, sliced deftly onto a pair of corn tortillas, and adorned with pickled onions and cilantro. It's truly a flawless bite. Besides the al pastor, don't skip the pollo, chorizo, or arrachera either. All are equally delicious. And at less than $1 each, it's easy to order a half dozen, and then a half dozen more. Once you've hiked off the tacos and are ready for dinner, head to the venerated Rosa Mexicano. Boasting one of the most staggering rooftop views you'll find anywhere on the continent, this place serves up elevated Mexican cuisine that is both elegant and soulful. Our picks, the Tasqueño steak, served with sweet corn tamales, expertly grilled Nepalese cactus, and local chorizo, and the Enchiladas Jamaica, beautifully presented chicken enchiladas in a delicate and earthy hibiscus sauce. For drinks, don't miss the Berta, a Taxco spin on a margarita that swaps tequila for mezcal and orange liqueur for honey. And if you're after true cultural immersion, a local mezcal served neat with traditional orange slices and cured worm salt is as authentic as it gets. While these were our best eats during our time here, your taste buds really can't go wrong in Taxco. There's a number of other local specialties that the city is known for. Chief among them is Mole Rosa, a gentle and nuanced sauce of roasted nuts, chilies, beet, and hibiscus flower. This, among countless other delicacies, are available in restaurants across Taxco. Just following your senses is a surefire way to find yourself a meal you won't soon forget. While wandering and eating your way through a city is always a guaranteed good time, Taxco has plenty of activities and attractions on offer as well. Let's not forget, this city is nearly 500 years old. If the local history is your bag, check out La Mina, a colonial-era silver mine that's perfect for an easy and enlightening stop. A short but thoughtful exhibit takes you into the mine itself and shows off the many minerals and gemstones that are found in the hills of Guerrero State. And if you're after some of Taxco's legendary silver, this is the perfect place to shop and support local artisans while learning about the history of the craft. A short walk up the road takes you to the Montetaxco cable car, which whisks you up and out of the city proper to an adjacent hillside. Here sits the Montetaxco Resort, which, while a modern hotel and spa, is the perfect place to grab a drink and take in some stunning views of the city. The resort restaurant, El Tasqueño, is quite excellent as well. And if you can't get enough of the views from here, simply hire any one of Taxco's trademark white beetles and ask for a round trip to Monumental Cristo de Taxco. Towering peacefully on a hill high above the city is a beautiful 60-foot statue of Christ, his arms outstretched, showering blessings down over the streets below. Erected in 2002, it has quickly become one of the most iconic sights to see in the city and provides not only a tranquil place for prayer and contemplation, but perhaps the most beautiful vantage point overlooking the town and surrounding mountains. You can hike up as well, though the trail is not for the faint of heart and takes a good portion of the day. Our advice, just grab a cab. Honestly, this is true of many of the activities on offer in Taxco. Save your legs for wandering around the town proper and rely on either taxis or colectivos, small hop-on hop-off buses that run set routes around the city for further excursions. Due to the roller coaster that Taxco calls its streets, the rides are bumpy, uncomfortable, and at times downright frightening. Cab drivers here have nerves of steel and likely a well-stocked reserve of guardian angels, but regardless, your weary quads will thank you for taking advantage of their services. As we wound down each day in Taxco, taking in the energy of the Zocalo, I found myself wondering what made this place so special. There's the obvious, the beautiful landscape, the historic architecture, the extraordinary food. But there was something else here, something deeper. It hit me by looking, of all places, down at my feet. The streets are not just black cobblestone, but white as well. The white stones are carefully laid out, etching patterns into the roadways. Some are historic dates, relevant for one reason or another to the people of Taxco. Others are figures, celebrating whatever that particular street is known for. While many towns would plaster their own names on enormous signs or buildings or roadways as if to shout of their greatness, the Taxqueño approach is mature, wise, self-assured. The people of this city are proud. Not in a boastful, arrogant way. It's a quiet pride. Taxqueños know that their city is a beautiful, picturesque place, and for this, they are glad. You get the sense that each resident here is a gardener, quietly and happily tending to the garden that is Taxco. The streets are clean, the stoops and curbs perfectly maintained in a way that belies a sense of reverence for every nook and cranny. And after spending a few days here, it gives me a certain sense of pride, of gratitude, to call such special people my neighbors, and such a spectacular place part of our North American neighborhood. The people of Taxco opened up their beautiful home and let us get to know them for a bit. For that, I'm forever grateful. And all I need now is another excuse to drop by once more.